Hi friends, welcome to IISN College Connect YouTube channel. In this videos, we are going to discuss about one-to-many bidirectional mapping. In previous videos, we discussed about one-to-one unidirectional bidirectional as well as JPQL queries. So if you don't watch those videos, please watch those videos and come back to this particular videos. Okay, so here we are going to see what is one-to-many bidirectional mapping. In one-to-many bidirectional mapping, so where one entity is going to be related to multiple instance of another entity. For example, here is one particular students can have many instance mapping matching with the other entity. For example, here is the Vinod is going to be matching with this particular record by using its foreign key. Here we are having the foreign key values is going to be mapping to this particular IDs. Likewise, here you see Vinod is having one record on the first bill and then another record that is this one. Here you see. And then here we are having the another matching record that is this. Likewise, here you see this is the relations between the student's registration and to the college's fees. Here one instance is related to multiple instance of the other table. Here, the table which is holding the foreign key is called as owning table, and then table which is mapping to this particular foreign key is called as a reference table. Here, this table is called as a parent table. Why? Because this table doesn't have any dependent on another table. But this one is called as a child table. Why? Because to insert this record on this particular table, this table need to know the student's registration number. Likewise, in a college, if you're going to join a college means first you're going to do the registration, then only you're going to pay the fee, college fees, right? Okay, while you're going to pay the college fees, they are going to ask you the registration number. Likewise, so while you're going to paying the college fees, first you need to do the registration, then only you can do the paying the fees, right? Okay, so here you see this is a child class and this one is going to be what? Parent class. As I already told that the table which is going to hold the foreign key, it is called as a owning table, and the table which is going to be hold refer the foreign key is called as a reference table. Likewise, here you see this another entity, another instance on the student registration table is having the relations to the college fees like this. Here, how we are going to write the entity classes for the students registration. Here, as you know this is a entity. Okay, so that we need to annotate it with the at entity annotation so that the table is going to be created for this particular classes. Okay, so here you see I have not include at id and at generated values for this particular field, that is student id. As well as here you see this is a student name and this one is going to be what? Student email id. To make it this field is going to be hold only the unique values. I'm going to use the annotation which is called as at column and unique equal to true. So if you're going to give it like this, so this field is not going to be accept the duplicate values. And then here you see another field we are having is student department. So likewise in this field we are having four. In this instance, we are having four fields. One is ID, another one is student, another one is student email, another one is going to be department. Now, you see, we need to give the link between the student's registration and to the college fees. So for that, we need to write one more entity which is called as a college fees. So before we are going to see this, so we are going to finish the college fees. Then we come back to this. What is one-to-many annotations? What I written over here. So here you see this is the another entity. So this entity is going to be replica of this table structure. So here we are going to annotate this class with which annotation? At id entity annotation. As I already told that I just ignore the annotation which is called as at id and then at generated values to avoid, that is a no space. Okay, so that I just avoid it. Okay, so while I'm doing the implementation, I'm just going to include those annotations here. And then another field we are having is bill number. Here this bill number is going to be hold the unique values. So that I'm just going to use at column and unique equal to what? True. Okay, so now you see we are having the bill number field and then amount and description. Here we are going to mapping this particular entity, this college fees with this particular table. How we are going to do the mapping means, so here you see we are going to use at many to one. That is, many college fees is going to mapping to the another entity which is called as students registration. The many is going to be mapping to this, and then one is going to be mapping to the students registration. Okay, done. Now, the next one, what we are going to see is, so we are going to see uh, join column. What is a join column? Okay, so the join column is mean that, so we are going to create an one field which is called as f key, f underscore key. Okay, so that this particular column is going to be get created. Okay, so at join column we are going to mention the column name, but we need to make a reference, right? In case there is another properties we are having is reference to column name. Reference to column name. Here I'm not include this reference to column name. If you are not include the reference column name, that is which which field it is need to refer. Okay, so that is what we are going to give it on the reference column name. In case if I'm not to give the reference column name, so it automatically inject the primary key field which is there in the student registration. So it is going to be relate this particular column name to this college fees. It automatically taken in the student registration which field we are going to use at id, that is primary key at id annotation, that is going to be take it as a referenced column name. So this fk key is going to be hold the values so of the id column name in the student registration. Okay, so the values you are going to give on here, and this one should be going to be matched. If you're not, if you're going to give the values other than what we are having on the student registrations, is if suppose if I'm going to give 3 over here means it's going to be check is that any 3 is there in the student registration. Here you see there is a no 3 a student id whose the 3 is not there, right? So this data is not going to be get inserted. Okay, so here the fk is going to be fk underscore key is going to be create a column. So to what values we need to insert on this particular column is going to be referred by the referenced column name. Here we are not given the referenced column name, so that what it is going to be check, it is going to be check the student registration column. Inside this, which column is going to be annotated with at id annotation, that is going to be take it as a referenced column name. So the value should be exist on the student id, that is this one, and then this one should be get match. So likewise, why we are giving the null level equal to false over here means, so it is not going to hold the null values. Why? Because it need to hold the referenced values. So that is the purpose why we given false over here. And that should be followed by we having the relationship entity, that is student registration table, right? That table name we need to give over here. Okay. So now hope you understand this child entities. Now moving to this parent entity. Inside this we given the annotation which is called as what one to many. That is one student registration is going to be mapping to many college fees. So that is what one to many. So what is mean by mapped by means, so it's going to be refer the SR. The SR means what? The values which we given on here, right? Okay, so it is going to be mapping this what particular one. And then cascade and cascade all. So as I already given the detailed explanations on the one to one bi-directional as well as a unidirectional one. What is cascade all? When you are going to perform any operations on the parent one, that is going to be replicate on the child as well. Okay, so I give the detailed explanation of cascade all in the previous videos. Please go and watch. Okay, in case if you don't understand. Then what is mean by operand removal means, so when suppose we are going to remove this particular record, okay, so this link is going to be only removed, okay, but the data is going to be it exists. Okay, to make it remove unforcefully, we are going to use operand removal true. So in some cases, it is not required when you are going to give the cascade all. Okay, so here the operand removal is going to be remove the child entity. Okay, so here that should be followed by JSON ignore. Okay, so why we are using the JSON ignore means, so when you are referring from the child to the parent, to avoid the regression calling, we are going to use at JSON ignore. Okay, so as I already told that one student's registration is going to be mapping with many students record. So that we are going to use many means what many records is going to be have. So that we are going to use list and then college fees and then college list. Okay, so this college fees is nothing but this entity name. So hopefully you understand what is one to many. Okay, so now we are going to see the implementation part. Let's see how to implement this one to many in the IntelliJ. Now you see, I created one packet, one projects. This project name is One-To-Many demo. Under this, I'm just going to create all the four packages. One is so as you must need to create the package under this root package. Okay, so that is com.iisn.one-to-many demo. So here I'm going to give the controller, and then that should be followed by services class, and then that should be followed by entity entity. Okay, so then repository. Only this four folders I'm going to create. Okay. So under this, first we are going to deal with the entity, then repository, then services and controller. Okay, so here you see I'm just going to create one particular class. The class name is called student registration. Student registration. Here under this is going to be reference of the entity classes, that is a replica of the table. Okay, so that I'm just going to use at id entity annotation. Here I'm going to create the primary key variable. Okay, so that is private. Okay, so it's going to be what? Integer. So I'm just going to give the integer, and I'm going to give the id name. Okay, so yes id. Okay, so yes id. Okay, so student id, yes id. Okay, so that should be followed by some of the variables I'm just going to create. Okay, so string and then student name. Okay, so then I'm just going to create private string and then student email ID, and I'm just going to mention this one is going to be what? Unique one, so that I'm just going to use column and annotation, and then inside this I'm just going to be mention unique equal to true. Okay, so then I'm just going to use another field email ID. What are the other things? Student name, email ID, and then private department, student department. That's it. Okay. So as of now, we created one, two, three, four variables. Okay. So that is four field. I'm just going to make it. This one is going to be primary key, and this one is going to be called the auto generated key. Okay. So here I'm just going to give the strategy, and then type is going to be what? Generation type is going to be identity. Okay, so here I'm just going to create a getter and setter. Before that, I'm just going to create one more entity, that is child entity. Okay, so here I'm just going to create another one, that is a college fees. Okay, so here you see this also going to be what? At entity annotation. Okay, so here it's going to be hold the primary key values. Okay, so that I'm just going to create a variable private integer, sorry, integer, and then bill college CID, college fees ID, CF ID. Okay, so then I'm just going to create another variable which is going to be what? Bill number. Okay, so it's going to be what? Integer. It's going to be integer. Okay, so it's a bill number. I don't want the duplicate values, so that what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use same annotation at column and okay, so unique is going to be what? True. Okay, so then I'm just going to create one more field, that is private. Okay, so then I'm just going to create a description for the bill. Bill string description. Done. Okay, so now the next one we are going to description bill and then amount. Okay, so here I'm just going to create another variable, that is private integer, or you can give double. Integer, I'm just going to mention the amount. Okay, so here you see we created all this field, whatever the field is required. Okay, so here I'm just going to use annotation, which is at id annotation, and then I'm just going to use this one is going to be hold the primary key. Okay, so then I'm going to use the another annotation which is called as a generated values, and then I'm just going to be mention the strategy equal to identity. Okay, so here I'm just going to be mention this one is what auto increment. We need to import the package from Jakarta. Okay, so here I'm just going to mention one, two, three, four variables. Now here also we created four variables. Now there is no relationship is created, right? Now you see I'm just going to create a relationship. Okay, so first I'm going to create a relationship on the child class. Okay, so here you see how many bills? Many bills is going to mapping to one particular. So many to one. Okay. So in many to one, so here it's a whole one foreign key, right? Okay. So each bill is going to be related to one particular students, because this child table is going to be what? Warning table. Okay, warning table is going to be hold the annotation which is called as adjoin column. Okay, so inside this, I'm just going to be mention the name of the column which I'm just going to create. Okay, so here you see we are going to create a foreign key for this particular field. Okay, so here I'm just going to give name equal to foreign key. Okay, so foreign key. Okay, so the key name is I'm just going to mention it as a foreign key. Okay, foreign key ID. Okay, so then I'm just going to mention nullable equal to false. Okay, so some case nullable is going to be false means it doesn't going to hold the null values. Sometimes it is required to give it. Okay, sometimes it is not required. Okay, so because this foreign key doesn't accept the null values. Okay, so here the many college bills is mapping to one particular students, that is one particular students, that is a student registration. Here we are going to give the student registration class, that is a private. Okay, so then student registration. Okay, so here I'm just going to mention student stud regi. Okay, so that's it. Okay, now you see from college fees we are going to be mapping to this student registration. Okay, so here now we are moving to the student registration. Okay, so here you see one particular students can have any many bills. So one to many. Okay, sorry, one to many. One particular students can have many bills. Okay, so here we are going to use mapped by. This field is called as a referenced one, right? Okay, so here we are going to use mapped by. Okay, so here mapped by is going to be the name you need to given is, so in the college fees you given the name, right? This to stud regi. Okay, so you're going to give this name on here mapped by. Okay, so this particular field is going to be refer this another field, another entities, that particular column foreign key. Okay, so here we are going to mention the next one is going to be what? Cascade type. Okay, so cascade type I'm just going to be give it as all. Okay, so then I'm just going to give orphan removal equal to 2. That's it. Okay, so and here you see when you are going to be give the back reference, we are going to give that is recursive call. To avoid this recursive call and infinitive call, what we need to do, we need to give one annotation which is called as JSON ignore. Okay, so we are going to give JSON ignore. Okay, so JSON ignore. Okay, if you're going to give like this, the recursive call, that is the infinitive call is going to be removed. Okay, so here one one student's record, the one student's registration record can have many college fees, right? Okay, so you need to give the particular entity name. Okay, so private list. Okay, so inside this, I'm just going to be mention the college fees. That is one particular students can have many college fees. Okay, so here I'm going to give the college fees and then fees name. Okay, so here the entity name I'm just going to give college fees. Okay, so here you can give like this. Okay, so or else you can just give college fees. It's more than enough. Now you see we done. The relationship between these two table is created. Okay, so now I'm just going to create a constructor, empty constructor and constructor with four arguments. Okay, so first I'm going to create an empty constructor and then I'm just going to create the four constructor, right click, generate, that is a constructor with all this argument. That. Okay, so now we are going to create a getter and setter. Now we are going to create getter and setter for this. Okay, right click. Okay, so generate getter and setter for all this field. Okay, likewise, we are going to move to the college fees. Inside this college fees, so we are going to create an empty constructor and constructor with all the arguments. Okay, so generate. Okay, so constructor, empty constructor, and constructor with four arguments. Constructor with four arguments. Now we are going to run this application. Sorry, now we are going to create a getter and setter. That's it. Okay, so we done. Okay, so in case toString is required, I'm just going to create a toString. Here also, I'm just going to create a toStrings. That's it. The entity class is over. We are closing this entity. Okay, so now you see we are going to move to the next one, which is repository. Okay, so once we done the entity, then we are moving to this repository. In the repository, we are going to write some of the JPQL queries. We are going to write some JPQL queries. Okay, so here you say I'm just going to create an interface. The interface nothing but so what are the two things? Student registration. Okay, so repo. Okay, so college fees registration and student fees registration. Okay, so that is student Regi repository. Repository. Okay. So here you see this one is going to be extends JPA repository. JPA repository. Okay. So inside this, I'm just going to be mention the column name. Okay. That is a table name. Student regi is going to be repository is going to be belongs to which table? Student registration. Okay. So here I'm going to give student registration. Okay. So inside this, I'm just going to mention the data type of ID prime. Okay. So here you see that is a primary key. Okay, so data type of primary key is integer. Okay, so here I'm going to give the long versions of this integer, that is a long. Okay, so here and I'm just going to be mention the another repository. I'm just going to create the another repository over here. That the repository name is what? College fees repository. Okay, so college fees repository. Okay, this one is going to be extends JPA repository. JPA repository. Done. Okay, so inside this, I'm just going to be mention the table name, which is college fees and then long. Okay, so long. Done. Okay, so now you see we created two repositories. Okay, so inside this, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create some of the JPQL queries. Okay, so first I'm going to write the simple JPQ queries, which is going to be retrieve all the students record. Okay, so the repository itself is having some default methods. Okay, so here we are going to write JPQ queries for retrieve some of the records. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pass one particular sorry, pass some queries in the college fees. So that is how we are going to write the query. So we are going to write the add query annotation. Okay, so add query annotation is mainly mean for the retrieval operation. In case if you're going to perform the other than the retrieval operations like update, delete, insertions, you need to use the two main annotation which is called as at modifications and at transactional. Okay, at query is mainly used for the retrieval operation. Here I'm just going to be mention the query name, that is a select. How we are going to write the JPQL query? Okay, so in case if you don't know, please watch the previous JPQL query videos and then come back. The link is given in the description. Kindly refer. Okay, so here okay, so here we need to mention the entity name. Okay, so for entity name is JPA repositories, JPQL always refer the entity and then field name. Okay, so here you see I'm just going to use the college fees. Okay, so entity, and then we are going to give the alias name of the entity, CF. Okay, so we need to give CF over here. This is a syntax. Okay, now you see this is work like select star from college fees. Okay, so here in the bottom, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to be mention the method default access specified public. Okay, so it's going to return the list of data, right? So that I'm just going to use list college fees, and then I'm just going to be mention the method name get all college fees. Okay, so then semicolon. Okay, so here you see I'm just going to be retrieve the entire record which is there in the college fees. Okay, so now I'm just going to be retrieve the college fees based upon the bill number. Okay, so here you see I'm just going to, for that I'm just going to write the query annotation. Okay, select CF from from college fees. Okay, so college fees CF. So now you see we need to enclose in double quotes. We are going to retrieve the college fees based upon bill number. Okay, so here we need to write the conditions. So where okay, so CF is reference of the college fees, so that we need to use CF over here. CF dot, okay, in the college fees. Okay, so what is the entity name for the bill number? It's a bill number only, right? Okay, so we are going to give the bill number over here. Okay, bill number. Okay, so then I'm just going to put colon equal to. Okay, so then I'm just going to mention, or else we can write it like this simply. That is, sorry, colon equal to colon. Okay, likewise we can mention. Okay, so ensure there is a gap between this equal to. That should be followed by the values which we are going to pass it as an argument. Okay, so equal to colon. Okay, so here suppose I'm just going to pass some values. That variable name I need to mention. Okay, so how to pass the values to this particular query? Okay, so here you see we are going to retrieve one particular bill. The bill is going to be what? Only one. There is a no duplication, so that it is not going to be written the list of values. It is going to be written only single records. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use public, okay, one particular single record college fees get college by bill by bill number. Okay, so here you see what is the data type of the bill number. The data type of the bill number is integer, right? Okay, so here also I need to pass the integer type. Okay, so integer. Okay, so here I'm going to be pass the variable name is what? Bill. Okay, so we can pass it directly like this, or else we can pass by using question mark. Okay, so here, or else what can do, you can put at param annotation. Inside this, I'm just going to mention bill, BIL. Okay, so I need to pass the exact value on here. In case if I'm going to mention bill number, so I'm just going to mention the particular variable name, bill number. So exact name I need to pass, right? Okay, so here you see we are just writing the query to retrieve the data based upon the bill number. Okay, so now we are going to write one more thing. Okay, so in the students registration. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to retrieve the record, that is display the student's name in ascending order. Okay, so here in this college piece, we write this two information. Okay, in the students repository. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to display the student's name in an ascending order. Okay, so that I'm just going to use the at query annotation. Inside this, I'm just going to write the select query. Select. Okay, so from we are going to mention the entity name. Okay, so what is the entity name? It is students registration. Okay, so here I'm just going to mention students registration repository. Okay, so SR is a reference of the entity, students registration entity. I'm just going to give the reference name on here. Instead of select star from, we are going to give SR from student registration. Okay, so as I already told that we are going to display the name in ascending order. Okay, so you know that how to write the ascending order. Okay, so we are going to use order by, and then we are going to be mention ascending means ASC, descending means DESC. Okay, so here we are going to display the informations on the ascending order on student's name based upon the values we are having on the student name field. Okay, how we are going to write the query? Select star from table name, order by, column name, and then ascending or descending. Okay, so here we are going to write the query order, and then that should be followed by, so by. Okay, so then we are going to refer the column name. Okay, so the column name, that is a student name. Okay, right? So we are going to copy the student name and move into this repository order by. Okay, so to refer the uh, field which is there on the student registration, we need to give the alias name first, and then that should be followed by the values which is field name which is present on the student registration. Field name is not student name. Okay, so here you see how we return the query. Select select SR, that is SR nothing but reference of the student registration. We are going to give select SR from student registration order by, so SR student name, that is ascending or descending. Okay, so ascending means what? AC, ascending. Okay, so in the bottom we are going to write the queries. Okay, so this is going to be written lot of records. So that what I'm going to do, I'm just going to be write public public. Okay, so it's going to be written list of records, list of, okay, so student registration. Okay, so then I'm just going to be mention the method name. Okay, get students record in records in ASC. Okay, so here I'm just going to be, when I'm going to call this particular method, this query is going to be get executed, and we are going to display the student's name in ascending order. Okay, so as of now, we return all the necessary queries which is we are going to return in the repositories. Okay, now we are going to write the services file. Okay, so here you see I'm just going to create the services file for the student registration. Student regi service file. Okay, so inside this I'm just going to be annotate this class with the services annotation. Okay, here also it is sometimes it automatically taken. Suppose we need to give at repository annotation. Okay, so in the repository, in the above the repository, we need to give repository. Okay, now we see in the student services class we need to give services annotation. Okay, so in the bottom we need to inject the repositories belongs to the student registration table, right? Okay, so that what we are going to do, so we are going to inject the repository of the student registration. Okay, student registration repository is nothing but students reg repository. Okay, so here I'm going to give this one. Okay, so and I'm going to annotate it with at auto add annotation. Okay, so here the first one we are going to perform add get by ID, get all, and then for get all, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to be use okay, so get all, I'm just going to be use the default method, and get student's name by ascending order. I'm just going to be call this particular method. Get all orders in ascending orders and update and delete. Okay, so I'm just going to be write all these operations on the student services for this particular student registration entity. Okay, first we need to add, right? Okay, so for adding the operations, we are going to use public. Okay, so we are going to, when we are going to add the record, it is going to be written one particular record of student registration. So I'm just going to be mention the entity name student registration. Okay, at student. Okay, so inside this I'm just going to be pass the values of this entity, right? This entity. Okay, so here I'm just going to be pass the values as a student registration SR data. SR data is nothing but complete student data. When we are going to call this particular method, this method is going to call the student registration repositories, and it is going to be add the values. Okay, so student registration repository dot save. Okay, so here, so we are going to pass the SR data. Okay, so if you don't know anything about this repositories, already I posted the CRUD operations on the Spring Data JPA. Kindly refer that particular videos. That video links also is there in the descriptions. Okay, kindly check. So now we see we perform this add operation. Next, what we are going to do, we are going to perform the retrieval operation, get by ID. Okay, so here for that, I'm just going to write the method public. Okay, so get by ID is going to be written on single record. Okay, so we can surround this by using optional, or we can throw or else null values. Okay, here get record by records by ID. Okay, so here I'm just going to be pass one particular student's record as an argument. Okay, so integer. Okay, so I'm just going to be pass particular student's record as an ID as an argument. Okay, so here what it is going to be, it is going to check the values. If the values is present, it is going to be written the values, otherwise it is going to be written null. Okay, okay, so here how I'm going to write means student repository dot student repository dot find by id. Okay, so find by id. Okay, so inside this I'm just going to be pass std id. Okay, so here is going to be throw an exception. Why? Because the id may find, in case if it is not find, what we need to do, so we are going to use or else. Inside this I'm just going to be mention null, or inside this I'm just going to be mention null. Okay, so here you see this is the other way of doing. Okay, so here why it is throwing an error message. Okay, so here I'm just going to be pass long. Okay, done. Okay, so now I'm just going to get all values. Okay, so this is a one way of using or else you can remove this. Okay, so here you can do with optional. Okay, so what is optional? The if you're going to give the option means it is going to be avoid null pointer exception. In case if it is record is there, it is going to be written. Otherwise, it is going to be thrown null means. So to avoid null pointer exception, we are going to use option over here. Okay, so then the next one, what we are going to do? So we are going to use get all records. Okay, so here I'm just going to write public. Okay, so get all record means what? It is going to be written list of records. Okay, list. Inside this I'm just going to be mention the table name. The table name is what? Student registration. Here inside this I'm just going to be get all the records, so that get all students records. Okay, so here we don't want to pass any values, so that I'm just going to be use this return student repository dot find all. Okay, so find all method. Okay, so this method is going to be written entire record. Okay, so now you see we perform the add operation. Get by ID also done. Okay, get all record also done. The next one is going to be what? Delete and update operation. Okay, so here I'm just going to be perform the deleting operation. I don't want to return any values, just I want to delete the records. Okay, so why? So here inside this, I'm just going to be pass the method name is called delete records. Okay, delete records. Inside this I'm just going to be pass the values, that is a long std id. Okay, so std id. Inside this we are going to call the repository. The repository name is what? Student reg repository dot. Okay, so here delete by id. Okay, so delete by id. Inside this I'm just going to be pass the id name which I'm receiving over here. Okay, so deleting operations also be written. The next one is what? Update operation. Okay, so update operation is very simple. Okay, so here it is going to be return the values. Whatever the values it is going to be updated, that particular values is going to be passed. So I'm just going to use student registration. Inside this, I'm just going to be pass the values of one particular student ID, and then the data which I want to update. Okay, so that is the student registration. Okay, so yes or else I'm just going to be mention new records, record, new records. Okay, so inside this, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to be get the values of the particular ID, and then I'm just going to be update the new record values. So here you see I'm just going to pass the ID to one particular students means a particular record means it's going to return the entire data of the particular operation. Likewise the update operation. Okay, so here student registration, we need to mention the update method name, right? Update record. Okay, so here what the update record, first we are going to give our unique identification number. So then it is going to give the existing record. So based upon that we are going to update the new record. Okay, so based upon the user chance or user need. Okay, here we are going to give student registration. Okay, so we are going to give old records. That is the old records or the existing records. Okay, so here I'm just going to use student registration dot find by ID. Okay, so find by ID. Here you see I'll show you how to use the next one, or else uh, resource not for throw the exception. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to use it. Okay, so here what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to write the or else through. Okay, so here dot find by ID is going to be through an old record. In this dot, okay, so you're going to use or else, okay, through, or else through you're going to use. Okay, so or else through. Okay, so inside this, so I'm just going to throw an exception. Okay, so here I'm just going to mention new entity not found exception. Okay, so entity resources not found exception. Resource, sorry, resource, RESO, entity resource, entity not found, entity not found exception. Okay, entity not found exception. Inside this, I'm just going to be mention ID not found, ID not found. It's very simple. ID not found. Okay, so here I'm just going to mention the ID not found exception. In case if the record is not there, means what it is going to do, it is going to throw this particular exception. Okay, so here in case if the record is there, means this one will hold the record, right? Okay, so now how I'm going to change the this record to the new record which I'm receiving over here. Okay, so how to write it? Okay, so first you see we retrieve the old record. Okay, so now we are going to up now we are going to save the new records in the old records. That is old record dot, okay, set. Okay, so set ID. Okay, so inside this what I'm going to do, I'm just going to be mention the values. Okay, so new record dot get ID. Okay, so just I'm going to save the set the IDs and then name. In case if it is required, you can save the name, or else I'm just going to save the ID. Okay, so what ID I'm passing, and that ID I'm just going to update. Okay, so here inside this, now you see the old record is going to hold the new values. Okay, so new IDs what I'm passing. Okay, just I'm going to save it. So how we are going to save it? Okay, very simple. Okay, so return. Okay, so why? Because we are going to return one particular records. Return, then I'm just going to be mention the repository dot. Okay, so I'm just going to use save method. Inside the save method I'm just going to put the old records. That's it. We save, we perform the update operation. Okay, so here you see I'm just updating the ID only. In case if you want to update anything other than ID, or else in case if you want to update the name, okay, so you can use set name. Inside this you can pass new records, new records dot get student name. That's it. We can perform this operation also. Okay, so as of now I'm updating IDs only. Okay, now you see we finish the update operations. Okay, so here you see we perform all the CRUD operations on the student registration. Okay, adding done. Okay, get by ID done, get all students done, delete record done, and then update record also done. Okay, so the next one what we are going to do, so we are going to write the, we are going to call the JPQL query. Okay, so here you see in the JPQL query we are written the method called get students records in ascending order. Okay, so here we are going to write the queries for it. Okay, now I'm going to make a call to this particular query in the services class. Okay, so here you see public. Okay, so it's going to be written the list of services. Okay, so here you see what this repository is going to be written. It is going to be written the list of records. Okay, so here I'm just going to copy this list of records. Okay, so public list of records. Here get record records in ASC, ascending order. Is that we need to pass any values for this? Check. we don't want to pass the values. Whatever the data we are having, we are going to perform the ascending order operation. So that I'm just going to be not passing any values. Here, I'm just going to call return student repository dot, okay, get students record in ascending order. So this is going to be written the values which we are having on the student registration in ascending order. That's it. We done all the operations. Now we are moving to this, the college fees services. So here I'm just going to write college fees service. Same as I'm just going to annotate it with at service annotation. Okay, so then I'm just going to write the repository. I'm just going to call the repository. The repository name which I'm going to give is college fees repository. College fees repository. Okay, so in this college fees repository, I'm just going to perform only two operations. One is add, another one is going to be get all. Okay, so then rest of the I'm just going to be called these two methods. Okay, get all college fees and get college fees by bill number. Okay, so I'm only these two methods I'm just going to write it in the services class. Okay, so here I'm just going to call the college fees repository, college fees repository at AutoAdd. Okay, so now I'm just going to write the methods. Okay, so here it's going to be written list of values. Okay, so when I'm going to call this particular method is going to be written list of values. What this method is going to do, it is going to be written the entire college fees details. Okay, so here public list of college fees. Okay, so here I'm just going to be again mention get all college fees. Okay, so here I'm going to write return college fees repository dot get all college fees. That's it. Okay, so we need to import this. Okay, done. Okay, so then next one, what we are going to do? So we are going to return, um, we are going to pass the bill, right? Okay, so we are going to pass the bill to this get college bills. Then it is going to be display the bill. Okay, so based upon the bill number. Okay, so we are going to write the particular operations in the services class. Okay, college fees services class. So here we are going to write public. Okay, so here public, it's going to be written only one entity, right? Okay, so that I'm just going to use college fees. It's not going to return list of values. Okay, so here I'm just going to pass create a method get bill, get records, get bill, get fees details by bill number. Okay, so here inside this, I'm just going to mention long, okay, bill number. Okay, so here I'm just going to call the method. Okay, so what's the method name? Here we are having, okay, so return, okay, so college fees repository dot, okay, get college bill by bill number. Inside this, I'm just going to mention bill number. Okay, so here is the inside this repositories, college fees repositories, we created one method get bill college by bill number, and then we are going to pass an argument. This argument is going to be assigned to this particular value, and we are going to get the values, get the output. Okay, so now you see I'm just going to why bill number. Okay, so it's going to be what, so I'm just going to be mention it as no. Okay, done. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so we have created this build services also, and then finally we are moving to this controller endpoint. Okay, so in the controller endpoint, we are going to create an endpoint for all the operations, whatever we have created in the services class as for both um, college fees as well as the registration. Okay, so here I'm just going to create two controller. One is for college fees, another one is for registration. Okay, so here I'm going to create first controller for the registration. That is student register controller. Okay, so here I'm going to annotate this class with at rest controller and then at request mapping. Okay, so here to map the particular endpoint. Okay, so I'm just going to mention student. Okay, so under this I'm just going to be inject the services class inside this. So I'm just going to use at auto-wide annotation. Under this I'm just going to create private. Okay, so then I'm going to be mention the services class for student registration. Okay, so what is the services class student registration? Here is the student regi services. Okay, student regi services. Okay, so I'm just going to mention it. Okay, now you see I'm just going to be on post mapping. Okay, so post mapping for simply adding the data. Okay, so here you see I'm not going to use create any endpoint this. Okay, so that when the user is going to call in the post mapping slash student and choose the operation post, it's going to be make a call to this particular method. Okay, so here it's going to be perform the insert operation. In back, it is going to be return the particular student registration operations. Okay, so what method it is going to do? Student, add student. Okay, so here you see we are going to pass the entire record. Okay, so here we are going to pass the entire record so that I'm just going to use the entity name. Okay, so what is the entity name? Student registration SR. You need to mention one thing, that is request body. Okay, so we are going to use one annotation which is called as request body. Why? Because we are going to be passed the entire body, entire data. So that I'm just going to call request body. Inside this we are going to have the method. Inside the student regi we having method called add students. Okay, so I'm just going to call this add students method in the student registration controller. Okay, here return. Okay, so return I'm just going to be pass return student regi services dot the method add student. Inside this I'm just going to pass sr. Okay, so suppose sometimes in case if you want to surround this by using response entity, okay, so you can use response entity and then you can surround it like this. Okay, but in return what you're going to do, so you can store this output values in one variable. Okay, so this what values it is going to be written? It is going to be written student registration sr data sr data. Okay, so you can write it like this, response entity dot. Okay, so inside this you are going to pass sr data. Likewise we can pass. Okay, so I'm just going to make it very simple. Okay, so I'm not going to use a response entity now, I'm just going to remove it. Okay, so I'm just going to be return this values. Okay, so I'm just going to be return the entire data. Okay, so when you are going to perform this adding operation, it is going to be return the values. That's it. Return student registration. Right. Okay, adding operation is done. Then we are going to perform the retrieve operation. Retrieve students by using ID. Okay. At get mapping. Okay, so here you see we are going to pass one particular ID. So slash in double parenthesis, I'm just going to be mention the ID. Okay, so here inside this to read the values, I'm just going to use a path variable. Okay, so here this method signature is public. It is going to be written one single record, right? So that I'm just going to use student registration. Okay, get student by ID. Okay, so inside this, I'm just going to use add path variable annotation. I'm just going to use add path variable annotation. Okay, so here I'm just going to be mention the variable name. Okay, so which is going to be what? Long, and then value I'm going to pass is ID, right? Okay, ID. Okay, so it's going to be called the services method. Okay, so services method student regi services dot what is the method name? Get record by id. Okay, so get records by id. Inside this I'm just going to be pass the id name. Okay, so now I'm going to check it whether I'm calling the right method or not. Okay, so yes, record by ID. Why it is throwing error means here you see we are using the optional over here. Okay, so that I'm just going to use surround this return type in optional. Optional. Okay, so that's it. You need to import from java.util. Okay, done. Okay, so the next one is going to be return all the record. Okay, so get mapping. Okay, so here I'm just going to get all the records. So I'm just going to mention public and then list. Inside this, I'm just going to be pass the student registration and then get all students. Get all students. Okay, so here we don't want to pass any argument. Okay, so I'm just going to perform the import operations. So simply I'm just going to call return and then student regi services dot what is the method we are having? Get all students record. Okay, so yes, I'm just going to check it. Yes, get all students record is going to be fine. All the record. Okay, done. Okay, get all operations also done. Then we are going to perform the delete and update operation. Okay, for performing the delete operation, I'm just going to use the delete mapping. Inside this, I'm just going to pass one particular record. Okay, so I'm just going to use the at ID annotation. Okay, so at ID. Okay, sorry, at path variable annotation to read the values. Okay, so here it is not going to return any values. Okay, so that I'm just going to use the void delete delete records. Okay, so here I need to use add path variable annotation. Okay, so I'm just going to read the values. Okay, so long and then I'm just going to use the ID. Okay, so inside this, so I'm just going to just make a call. It doesn't need to return any values. Okay, so that I'm just going to use student g services dot. Okay, so delete records. Inside this, I'm just going to pass the ID. Okay, so that's it. Deleting operation is done. Then we are going to perform the update operation. For update operation, we are going to use a mapping. Okay, so in this, we are going to pass two arguments. One is ID, another one is going to be the complete values. Okay, so here, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pass the ID. Okay, so here, I'm just going to write the method. Okay, so public. Okay, so it's going to be written on particular record, right? Okay, so that is student registration. Okay, so inside this, I'm just going to read the values, both the path variables as well as path variable. Okay, so here you see, we need to surround it in double quotes. We need to surround it in double quotes. Okay, so path, okay, right. Okay, so here long, okay, so long ID. Okay, so ID. Okay, so then here you see we are going to receive the another value, that is request body. Request body. What type of data we are going to receive? We are going to receive student registration. Okay, so SR data. Okay, so this is the two information we need to pass. One is the ID values which we are going to receive. The another one is going to be the values which we are going to pass as an argument. That is a request body. Okay, so here you see we are going to write the return. Okay, so return. Inside this, I'm just going to be mention the services. Student repository services dot the method we are going to have is the update records. Okay, so here I'm going to pass two information ID. Another one is going to be what? SR data, the SR data, this one. Okay, SR data. Okay, semicolon. Okay, that's it. We done it. Okay, so here, output mapping, why it is throwing error, not applicable, constructor. Okay. Oh, the mistake which I did is, here is it. I'm just not mentioning the method name. Update records. Okay, so that is the reason why it is throwing an error message. Okay, so now you see update operation is done. The next one we are having on the this particular operation is update is done. Then we are going to perform the get records in ascending order. We are going to make a call to this particular method. Okay, so here is the at get mapping. Okay, so here I'm just going to be mention uh, slash. Okay, so record records in ASC ascending order. Okay, so we are going to call this particular endpoint means it is going to display the records in ascending order. Okay, so based upon the name. Okay, so here I'm just going to be called public is going to be written list of records. Okay, so list of records. Okay, so here inside this I'm just going to be pass the students registration. Here I'm just going to be called method name. I'm just going to give the method name get ASC get name in ascending order ASC. Okay, so it doesn't need to pass any argument. Here we are going to simply call return. Okay, so then we are going to call this student regi services dot. Okay, so get records in ASC. Okay, done. We done all the operations. Then we are going to write the endpoint for the college fees. College fees controller. Okay, so we are going to annotate it with at request sorry at request mapping. Okay, so then I'm just going to annotate it with at rest at rest controller. Okay, so here you see in the request mapping, I'm just going to be mention slash fees. Okay, so here we are going to adding operation is not done. Adding college fees is required, right? So adding operation is not done. We need to we need to perform the adding operations. Okay, so public. Okay, so college fees. Okay, add fees. Inside this, we are going to get college fees and argument CF. Okay, so then I'm just going to be called return college fees repository dot save. Okay, so inside this, I'm just going to be pass CF. Okay, so now we are going to make a call to this all these three methods in the controller. Okay, get all fees, get fees details by bill number. Okay, so then I'm just going to show one more query annotations, query retrieval operation, that is retrieving bill details based upon the student ID. Okay, so it's very important. Okay, so now we finish all the endpoint for this particular college fees. Okay, so first we are going to use at auto-wide annotation. Here inside this auto-wide annotation, we are going to inject the services class. Okay, so what is the services class? College fees services class. Okay, so college fees services. Okay, so CFS. Okay, services, college fees services. Okay, now you see we are going to write the endpoint for the post mapping. Post mapping. Okay, so now you see we are going to add the college fees public. Okay, so here it's going to be pass college fees. Sorry, entity name. We need to give the entity name. Why? Because when we are going to add the data, it's going to be written on particular data. Okay, so that we are going to return one particular data, so that particular entity name. Okay, so fees add fees. Okay, so inside this we need to pass the entire body. Okay, so college fees body. Okay, so that I'm just going to be pass college fees. Okay, CF. Okay, so college fees. Inside this we are going to call this college fees services. So that I'm just going to write return. Okay, so college fees services dot. Okay, so add fees inside this CF. Inside this CF. Okay, so here we done the adding operation. Then we are going to perform the retrieval operations. Two type of retrieval operation we done. One is we are going to return the college fees, all the college fees. Okay, so for that I'm just going to use the query annotation method. Okay, so I'm just going to use call the query annotation method. Okay, so and then we are going to pass the bill number. It is going to be returned the bill values. Okay, so based upon the bill number, it's going to be returned the particular bill details. Okay, so here first one we are going to retrieve all the records. Okay, so I'm just going to use get mapping. Okay, so get mapping. Okay, so inside this we don't want to pass any argument. We don't want to pass any argument. for this. Okay, so get all college fees. Okay, get mapping. Okay, so here you see list. It's going to be written list of college fees. List of college fees. Okay, so then it's going to be called get fees. Get all fees. Get all fees. Inside this, I'm just going to write return. Okay, so college fees services dot. Okay, so then mm, get all college fees. That's it. Okay, so here we need to import this. Okay, so what the get all fees is going to do? Get all fees is going to call this particular method. Okay, so here it's going to be called this repository. Inside this, we are having same get all fees. In all these locations, we are using same method name. So for the changes, what I'll do, I'll just going to be use get all fees in service. Here I'm just going to be mention in service. So we have written this one inside the services class, right? Okay, so that I'm just going to mention in service. Okay, so same I'm going to call it on this particular method. Get all college fees in services. Right. Okay, so when you're going to call this, it's going to be called the services method. This services method is going to be called the repository. This repository is going to be called this particular query, and it is going to be written the list of college fees details. Okay, now we are going to pass the bill number. Okay, so here get mapping. Okay, so inside this, I'm just going to be pass the endpoint slash bill bill number. Okay, so here slash. Okay, okay, so here BNO. Okay, BNO. BNO. Okay, so inside this, it's going to be written only one record. Okay, so here I'm just going to be write base public. Okay, so that is college fees. College fees. I'm just going to mention the method name. Just I'm going to mention the method name. Get bill details. Okay, so inside this, I'm just going to be pass the long. Okay, so we need to read the values, right? So that I'm just used path variable and then long and then BNO. Okay, so here inside this, I'm just going to call the services return. Okay, so college fee services dot. Okay, so then I'm just going to get fees details by bill number. Okay, so here I'm going to pass BNO. That's it. We done the code. Okay, so then the next one, once I finish the executions, I'm just going to show you one important JPQL queries. Okay, so where we are going to retrieve the all the bill which is going to be paid by one particular students. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run this code. Yes. Okay, start executing. I think it's done. And we are getting some error. What it is? Oh, okay, so we need to mention the URL details, right? Okay, so I'll do one thing. I'm just going to copy this application.properties file. So where I'm going to copy this all the properties information, I'm going to paste it over here in the application.properties file. Okay, so here I'm just going to be change the entity to college fee. Hmm? I'm going to create a database. Okay, so what is the database? It is create database, and then database name is what? College fees. Okay, so I'm just going to create it. Okay, in case dropping the database is very simple. Drop database name. Okay, so here we have created it. Okay, so create database college fees. College fees is get created. Okay, now I'm going to start running this program once again. Yes, it's get executed. Now I'm going to open this Postman First, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to insert one particular student. First, student need to do the registration, then only it can able to pay the fees, right? Okay, so here the local host 5000, as you see in this previous terminal windows, it's showing 5000. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to call the endpoint. Okay, so for doing the registration, for doing the registrations, what is the endpoint? For this particular controller, it is a slash student. Okay, so here I'm just going to make a call to this slash student. Okay, so and then I'm just going to pass the endpoint for the post mapping. Here you see for post mapping, as I doesn't give any endpoint. Simply I'm just going to move to this entity classes. I'm going to ignore this SID. Why? Because this SID is auto incremented one. And then I'm just going to be call this postman. I'm going to insert this body. I'm just going to remove this, and then double quotes. I'm just going to mention the student name. The name of the student is going to be uh, Vinod Kumar Silvarasan. Okay, so then I'm going to pass the email ID. Okay, so email ID. Here you see we mentioned this one is going to be unique as a true, so that it doesn't accept the duplicate one. Okay, so email ID in this I'm just going to be mentioned Vinod at gmail.com. Okay, so then I'm just going to be mention the department which is going to be what? Computer science. Okay, done. Okay, so now you see the next data we are going to pass is college fees. Okay, so here you see we doesn't have any record. Initially, students is doing registration means initially they are going to doesn't going to pay the fees. Once the registration done, then only they are going to pay the fees, right? Likewise, we are going to pass the empty set for this college. Okay, so college fees here I'm going to pass the empty array set. Okay, empty array set. Okay, so here why we are passing the empty array set? Here we are going to pass a list, so that I'm just going to pass the empty array list. I'm just going to perform the insert operation. Okay, so no static resources student. Okay, so here the endpoint is student. Okay, so but post mapping, I just give some endpoint for this slash add. Okay, so I just stop it and save this code, and I'm going to run it. It's executing. Okay, so it's get started. So slash add. Okay, I'm just going to send the request. Now you see the data is get executed, the data is get inserted. Okay, so now I'm going to pass some more records. Ashok Kumar. Okay, Ashok, and then make second students, and then third students. I'm just going to be pass is Roshan Vinod Kumar Roshan AIML sent. Okay, so this one also done. Another one is going to be Niranjan. Niranjan. Okay, Niranjan. Okay, done. Okay, four students is done. Now we are going to perform the retrieval operation. Okay, so here you see what is the retrieval operation? Retrieve by ID. Okay, so I'm just going to be pass one particular student. Okay, slash one. Okay, sent. Here you see we are getting it. Okay, so and then for retrieval operations. Okay, so I'm just going to be perform get mapping, simply get mapping, not passing any IDs. Okay, so get mapping, no resources found, no resources found. So slash student get mapping. Okay, so I'll give just an endpoint for this. All records, all records. Okay, so I'm just stopping. and save this, rerun it once again. Okay, so here I'm just going to be pass all records. Okay, send the request. Now you see, we are going to get all the records. Whatever the records we are having is throwing. Okay, so now we are going to perform the update operations, deletion operations later. And now what we are going to do is we are going to call display the records in the ascending order. Okay, so here I'm just going to be pass records in ascending order. This is the endpoint, right? I'm just going to be display the information. Okay, so now you see first one is going to be Vinod, Ashok, Roshan, Niranjan. Let's see, is that any changes is going to be happen or not? Okay, now you see the records is going to display in ascending order A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V. Okay, so now you see we perform the ascending order sorting also done. So now we perform the ascending order sorting also done. Okay, so now we are going to move to this college fees. Okay, so in this we are going to call fees. Okay, so here we are going to perform the post operation. Okay, so here controller is what fees. Okay, so here you see post mapping, same as I'm just going to be give the endpoint for this add fees. Okay, so here I'm just going to stop it and just give the proper endpoint for all. Okay, so get all fees. Okay, so then bill number. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so we are going to rerun it. So done. Okay, so now you see we are going to call this fees. Okay, so now we are going to call slash fees. Okay, so here, this also fees and this also fees. Okay, oh, just now I changed. Okay, okay. So this one is what? Fees slash, I'm just going to use add fees. Okay, add fees. Okay, so here how to add the fees for this particular students. Okay, so we need to move to this body type of college fees. What we are passing, first we are going to pass the bill number. Okay, simply give the bill number. Simply give bill number. Okay, so the bill number is going to be always unique, right? Okay, so 666, and then I'm just going to give the description. The description is what? Semester fees. Semester one. Okay, so then I'm just going to be paying the amount. Okay, so paying the amount. Okay, so amount which I'm going to pay is 45,000. Okay, so then I'm just going to pass the complete details, student regi. Okay, so here you see the student regi is nothing but registrations, reference of the student registration. How to pass this particular in values. Okay, so here we are going to mention this SR, that is sorry, SR student regi. Okay, so student regi. Inside this, okay, so we having this field, right? Okay, so inside the student registration, we having SID, right? Okay, so we are going to mention SID is colon 1. Okay, so this particular fees is going to be paid by whose student ID is going to be 1. Okay, so I'm just going to send the record. Okay, so let's check. Here is the data is successfully inserted. Okay, so we are going to check it on the database whether the data is successfully inserted or not. Okay, so college fees our database. So under this college fees, and I'm going to refer the college fees bill details table. Okay, so here is it's going to be get inserted. Okay, so college fees ID, amount, bill number, description, and then foreign key. Likewise, I'm just going to be paid for the next student. Okay, so here I'm going to change the student ID and then semester one. Okay, so but I'll just keeping the bill number as same. Okay, so let's check the unique constraint is working fine or not. Okay, so here is it is not accepting. Why? Because the 666 values is already is present. Okay, so we set the unique, right? Okay, so that we need to give the unique values. Now you see this record also get inserted. Now I'm going to rerun it. Here you see the data is get inserted. Now I'm just going to pay in the fees for the semester fees, and then sorry, I'm going to pay the fees for all the students. Finally, we are going to write the JPQL queries to retrieve the bill which is paid by the particular students. Okay, so here I'm just going to be 3 is paid. Okay, so then 4, and then semester 1, and the bill number is what? 9. Okay, so I'm just perform the rental operation. Is done. Okay, now I'm just going to paying for the book fees. Okay, so 790. Okay, 690. Okay, so bill number same as 1 paying, and then 2 is paying the book fees, and I'm changing the bill number, and 3 is paying the fees, which is going to be 3. 4 is paying the book fees. Now you see all the bill is paid by the all the 4 students, semester fees and book fees. Now what we are going to do, so now we are going to move to the another endpoint. Okay, so what is the other endpoint? We are having college fees, add fees is done. Okay, so then get all fees method we are going to see now. Okay, so fees, so inside this I'm just going to call get all fees, sorry, get all fees, get method. I'm going to send the record. Okay, so here is he is going to be see the showing the complete details. Okay, so this particular student has paid semester fees, and then this particular student has paid the that is Ashok Kumar also paid the semester fees, Roshan also paid the semester fees, Niranjan also paid the semester fees, and Vinod Kumar has paid the semester book fees, Ashok Kumar paid the book fees, and then Roshan, Niranjan, everyone is paid semester fees and then book fees. Okay, so next we are going to check the another endpoint. Okay, so what is bill number? Okay, so we are going to pass the bill number. Okay, so based on that, it is going to be display the record. Okay, so here is what is the bill number 994. Okay, so sorry 694 bill number slash number details. Okay, oh my God. So no static resources bill number. Okay, so here bill number B number. Hmm, what happened? Path variable long P slash bill number. Okay, so I just change it and rerun it. It's running. Okay, so I'm just going to check it. Oh, sorry. So the endpoint is completely wrong. That is the reason. Okay, so fees slash bill number, right? Okay, so fees slash the endpoint is bill number slash the bill number which we pass in is 694, I hope. Okay, I'm just going to give 694 sent. Here you see, we got this bill number. Okay, so here you see what queries we call. We are going to call this JPQL query. Okay, so this JPQL query is going to return the bill number. Okay, so based upon bill number, it's going to be return the values. Now, what we are going to do? So we are going to pass one particular student ID. Then it is going to be written the list of bill which is paid by the particular students. Okay, so for that, I'm just going to move to this the repository which is called as college fees repositories. Okay, how to write it? Okay, listen. Inside this college fees, we are having the reference. We are having the reference of student registration. Okay, so for that, yes, sir. Okay, so now you see, first I will write the query and later I can tell you. Okay, so first we are going to write at query annotation. Okay, so at query. Okay, inside this, I'm just going to be pass the double quotes, and then I'm going to write the select query. Okay, select. Okay, so that is college fees, right? Okay, so I'm just going to use a SF. Okay, so SF. Okay, so from, okay, so the entity name we are having is college fees. Okay, so sorry, SF not CF, CF, where where okay, so CF dot. Okay, so now you see when you're going to give CF dot, it is going to be refer the college fees entity. Okay, so now you see we are going to pass the student ID. So it's going to be written the particular student ID bill details. Whatever the bills the particular student has paid, it's going to be written. Okay, now you see what we written. Select CF from college fees where CF dot, so that it's going to refer the college fees CF. Inside this, we are having the student registration table, right? So what is the entity for the student registration? STUD regi. Okay, so here is going to call this CF dot STUD dot regi, that is student registration. It is referring STUD regi is referring student registration. Inside the student registration, we having the student ID, right? SID. Okay, so here we are going to call the SID. Okay, so equal to colon. Okay, so what? The student ID. Okay, so student ID. Same as simple. The previously what we written, same as simple. Okay, so here what we are going to do? So we are going to return the list of bill which is paid by the particular student. Okay, so first we are going to CF. The CF is nothing but college fees. Okay, so we are moving to this college fees. Inside this college fees, what we are having? So student registration. Okay, student. So that I'm just going to use the student regi. Okay, so here you see I'm just going to call student regi. Inside this student regi is nothing but what? It is the reference of student registration. Under the student registration, we having SID. Okay, so we are passing SID as an argument, and then we need to pass the values to this particular query like the same way what we did on the above one. Okay, so here you see CF college fees bill is going to be written list of college fees which is going to be written by the particular students or paid by the particular students. Okay, so here I'm just going to call list. Okay, so that is public. Okay, so list. Okay, so then it's going to be what? List of college fees. Okay, I'm just going to give the naming for this particular jQuery. Okay, so get uh, bills bills paid by student. Okay, so that's it. I'm just going to use at param annotation. Inside this, I'm just going to be mention student ID st. So we need to pass the same name, right? Student ID, whatever we are given over here. Okay, so student ID is what? Long, and then I'm just going to be mention any name SID. Student identity. Okay, SI or student ID. That's it. Okay. So now you see we return this query. We are going to call this query on the services class. Okay. So here this is going to be what? College repository. So that I'm going to go to the college services. Inside this college services, I'm just going to be write the method. Okay. So the bill is going to be what? List of bill. So that list, and then entity name is what? College fees. List of college fees. Okay. So here I'm just going to get uh, fees by STUD student ID. Okay, so this is the method. Inside this, I'm just going to pass the student ID, long ID. Okay, so here inside this, we are going to call the method return. Okay, college fees repository dot. What is the method we return on the college repository, which is get bills paid by students. Okay, so that is the method, right? Okay, so I'm going to call this particular method. Inside this method, I'm just going to be pass the argument. Okay, done. Okay, so now you see I'm just going to call this particular services method on the controller, that is endpoint. Okay, so here you see inside this fees controller, I'm just going to call a method called at get mapping. Okay, so inside this I'm just going to mention, okay, so student bills. Okay, student ID, student ID, bill number or bills. Sorry. Okay, so we are going to pass the ID name, student ID. Okay, so here I'm going to write the method name, which is public. It's going to be written the list of college fees. Okay, so then I'm just going to give any name. Okay, get student IDs and bill details and bill detail. Here I'm just going to read the ID. Okay, so which is a path variable, right? I'm just going to write path variable, sorry, at path variable. Okay, so here I'm just going to mention this is going to be long, right? Okay, so long and ID. Okay, so here I'm just going to write return. Okay, so then college fees services dot what is the method? Okay, so we have written on the services class. So the method which we written on the services class is what? Get fees by student ID. Okay, so I'm just going to call this particular method on here. Inside this, I'm just going to pass the value, that is ID. I'm just going to pass. Okay, so what we return? Okay, so we return the JPQL query in the repository. Okay, so it's going to be called this um, particular student ID. Okay, so it's going to be display the what are the bills which is paid by the particular student ID. For that, we return this query. Select CF from college fees. CF is going to be reference of the college fees, where CF is college fees reference. Inside this college fees, we are having the student regi. So that we are going to give the student regi over here. And then student regi is what? It is a reference of student registration. I'm going to move to the student registration. Then we are having the SID is reference of the student ID. Okay, so that I'm giving the SID equal to colon. Okay, so then we need to give the student ID. That is the values which we are passing. Okay, so we return the method. So this method we need to pass the values means that value will be assigned to this query, so that this query is going to be return the values that is going to be captured by this particular method is going to return. Then we are going to call this particular method over here. This particular method is called inside the student sorry, college fees services. Here we are having the get fees by student ID. This method is going to be called when the student is um, when they are calling this endpoint student ID bill slash ID. Okay, so this particular method is going to be get called. Okay, so it's going to be written list of college fees is paid by the particular students. Okay, so I'm just going to stop this particular program and I'm going to save it and I'm going to rerun it. Okay, rerun it. Here you see the endpoint this particular control is fees. So that I'm going to call fees slash student ID bills. Okay, so slash. Okay, so I'm going to pass the ID 1. Okay, so let's see what are the bills which is paid by the this particular student. Okay, so the bill which is paid by the particular student is okay, so 1 that is he paid semester fees and college fees. Okay, I'm just going to be pass 1 and click send. Okay, so here is the list of bills which is paid by the student. One is semester fees, then college fees. Hopefully, you will understand this complete flow of this particular program, that is one-to-many bi-directional, the complete CRUD operations. Okay, so your task is to you need to write the JPQL query for performing the update, delete operations, and like operation. Okay, so you know the like operation, right? Okay, retrieving the data by using the like operation. Here we return the JPQL query by using order by ascending order. Okay, so here you're going to write like operation. Okay, so like operation, update operation, delete operation. Okay, this is your task. Okay, in case I hope this videos is more helpful for you. If you like these videos, please click the subscribe and bell button. Please don't forget to click the likes button. Okay. So thank you very much.